Small talk is the delicate, unwritten contract we all sign to avoid deafening silence. But what happens when that contract is breached with spectacular incompetence? You get this. We've compiled 101 of the most awkward, cringeworthy, and hilariously dumb small talk fails ever witnessed in the US. Prepare to feel secondhand embarrassment on a level you didn't know was possible. 1. A well-meaning colleague spots a woman in the office kitchen and says, "Congratulations, when are you due?" She looks down at her lunch and replies, "This isn't a baby, this is a burrito, and it's due in my stomach immediately." And that's how you learn to never, ever ask that question. 2. At a painfully quiet funeral reception, a distant relative approaches the widow, puts a hand on her shoulder, and asks with genuine curiosity, "So, what's the Wi-Fi password here?" Some questions are just so wrong, they create their own little black hole of social awkwardness. 3. You're passing an acquaintance in the hallway and throw out a casual, "Hey, what's up?" They stop, dead in their tracks, look at the ceiling and say, "The structural support beams, fluorescent lighting fixtures, and the second floor. You weren't asking for a structural analysis, my guy." 4. In the gym sauna, a stranger tries to break the silence. "Hot enough for you in here?" You nod, and they continue. "Yeah, it's great for the pores. I find it really helps clear up the weird rash I've got going on my back." And just like that, you'd rather suffer heat stroke than stay another second. 5. A cashier cheerily asks a man buying a single frozen pizza, "Got big plans for this tonight?" The man stares directly into her soul and says, "This is my reward for not emailing my boss what I really think of him for the 5th day in a row." Suddenly, scanning barcodes is the most interesting job on earth. 6. During a cringy first date, the question finally comes, "So, any hobbies?" The other person's eyes light up. "I collect hair from the shower drains of hotels I stay at. I'm trying to make a wig." The only thing getting made after that is a swift exit. 7. At a dog park, you tell another owner, "Your dog is so well behaved." They sigh and reply, "Thanks. He's the only one who still respects me after my wife left me for her spin class instructor, Greg." Now you're not just petting a dog, you're bearing witness to a suburban tragedy. 8. You compliment a coworker, "Hey, I love that new shirt." They respond with, "Oh, this old thing? It's the only clean one I had left. The rest are covered in what I hope is cat vomit." There is no coming back from that. The conversation is officially deceased. 9. Trapped in an elevator, a stranger turns to you and says, "This elevator music is terrible." You agree. They lean in closer and whisper, "It's the song that was playing when I got my first DUI." And now, everyone is just staring at the floor numbers, praying for the ride to end. 10. Someone trying to be friendly at a party asks a guest holding a beer, "So, what do you do?" The guest takes a long sip and answers, "Mostly just disappoint my parents and accumulate credit card debt." You? How about we just talk about the weather instead? Please? 11. A hairstylist making small talk asks, "Got any fun plans after this?" The client calmly replies, "Just a mandatory court appearance for a minor misunderstanding with a parking meter. Figured I should look presentable for the judge." The snipping sound of scissors is the only reply. 12. On an airplane, your seatmate cheerfully asks, "So, business or pleasure?" You offer a tight smile and reply, "It's a court-ordered trip to meet the biological father I never knew, so I guess it's technically unresolved family trauma." They will not be asking you any more questions. 13. Your boss tries to start the week on a high note asking, "So, how was your weekend?" You respond with a deadpan expression. "It was a profound journey of self-discovery. I learned that my soul is as empty as my refrigerator was on Sunday night." That should kill the conversation until Friday. 14. At a wedding reception, you ask a fellow guest, "So, how do you know the happy couple?" They take a long sip of champagne and say, "I'm the bride's divorce lawyer, just here networking for the future." Suddenly, everyone at the table is reevaluating their life choices. 15. A bank teller, trying to be friendly while counting your cash, says, "Saving up for something special?" You lean in conspiratorially and whisper, "It's for the ransom. But don't tell anyone. It's a surprise." Now they have to decide if they need to press the silent alarm. 16. While the dentist has both hands, a mirror, and a sharp metal pick in your mouth, they ask, "So, been keeping up with your flossing?" You respond with a noise that sounds something like a drowning walrus. This isn't a conversation. It's a power move. 17. You run into an old classmate who asks the dreaded question, "So what have you been up to?" You smile and say, "Mostly just trying to pay my bills and developing a sophisticated palate for instant noodles. It's been a wild ride." The reunion is officially over. 18. Trying to fill the awkward silence before a big meeting, a manager asks, "Anyone see the game last night?" A junior employee, trying to sound engaged, replies, "No, I was up all night researching the migratory patterns of the Arctic tern." Fascinating stuff. The silence is now even more awkward. 19. You're at the vet, and another pet owner asks, "What's your little guy in for?" You sigh and say, "He's developed a gambling addiction. He keeps betting his treats on which squirrel will fall off the bird feeder first. It's gotten out of hand." They slowly inch their chair away. 20. An interviewer kicks things off with, "So, tell me one fun fact about yourself." The candidate thinks for a second and says, "I can hold my breath for the exact length of the average elevator ride, which I practice daily to avoid small talk." They did not get the job. 21. At a holiday party, a cheerful coworker asks, "Are you ready for Christmas?" You look them in the eye and say, "Emotionally? No. Financially? Definitely no. Logistically? My house is a death trap of extension cords and glitter. So, yes, totally ready." 22. A new neighbor tries to be friendly, asking, "So, what's the neighborhood like?" You respond, "It's great, mostly. Except for the guy on the corner who thinks his wind chimes are a form of artistic expression at 3 in the morning. You'll meet him." Welcome to the neighborhood. 23. Your rideshare driver asks, "Busy day today?" You let out a long, weary sigh and say, "I'm just trying to look productive enough so that my company's new AI-powered surveillance software doesn't flag me as a waste of oxygen." How about you? The rest of the ride is completely silent. 24. Someone at a potluck asks, "Wow, this dip is amazing. What's in it?" The person who brought it smiles mysteriously and says, "It's a secret family recipe. My grandma said if I ever told anyone, she'd haunt me. So, mostly cream cheese and fear." 25. You're in line for coffee and the person behind you asks, "Man, this line is long. Need that caffeine fix, huh?" You turn and say, "No, I just like to stand in lines. It gives me a sense of purpose without any actual responsibility." They are now rethinking their own life choices. 26. At a boring party, you ask someone, "So, what do you do for fun?" They get a faraway look in their eyes and say, "I like to go to IKEA and quietly swap the price tags on things. It's my own small way of creating chaos in a world of order." You are both intrigued and terrified. 27. Your server at a restaurant asks, "Is this your first time dining with us?" You reply, "In this life, yes. But my past self, a 17th century French duke, was apparently a regular. Or so my psychic tells me." The server just nods and slowly backs away to get your water. 28. Stuck on a broken-down subway car, a stranger says, "Well, this is just great." You reply, "I don't know, it's a nice break. Nobody expects you to answer emails when you're trapped underground. This is the most peace I've had all week." They don't know whether to laugh or cry. 29. A personal trainer at the gym asks, "So what are your fitness goals?" You, while struggling on the treadmill, pant, "My main goal is to be able to run away from my problems faster than they can catch me. Also, maybe lose 5 pounds." They probably don't have a workout plan for that. 30. At a baby shower, an aunt you barely know asks, "So, when are you going to have one of these?" You lean in and whisper, "As soon as I can figure out how to get 9 months of paid vacation and someone else to do the actual giving birth part." The topic is never brought up again. 31. Consider the classic living the dream response. It's never spoken with actual joy. It's the verbal equivalent of a shrug, a universal American code for "I am one bad day away from faking my own disappearance and starting a new life as a goat farmer in Vermont." 32. At a hardware store, an employee trying to be helpful asked a customer what project he was working on. The customer, holding a single roll of duct tape and a shovel, just smiled and said, "It's better if you don't know." That employee is definitely not getting paid enough to handle that. 33. A guy at a blood drive tried to lighten the mood with the nurse. As she prepped his arm, he joked, "Make sure you get the right one. The other arm is full of pure, unfiltered spite." The nurse's professional smile didn't even flicker as she replied, "Don't worry, sir. We only take the blood." 34. There's a special kind of social paralysis that happens when you ask someone, "What's new?" and they actually start telling you, in detail, for 15 minutes. Your face is frozen in a mask of polite interest while your brain is just a loop of screaming and static. 35. An attempt at office camaraderie went sideways when one person commented on a coworker's lunch. "Ooh, that smells interesting." The coworker responded, "Thanks, it's a new diet. It's supposed to cleanse your system of toxins and past regrets." The conversation was officially over. 36. Picture a man at a party, confidently approaching a group, ready to drop a killer opening line. He waits for a pause and then asks, "So, do you guys like bread?" The silence that followed was so profound you could hear tectonic plates shifting. 37. A woman complimented a stranger's tattoo of what she thought was a beautiful floral pattern. "I love your tattoo," the man grimaced. "Thanks. It's actually a diagram of a rare skin fungus I survived. It's a reminder of my mortality." Some things are not for small talk. 38. Few questions are as pointless as asking a bartender, "So what's good here?" "My friend, it's a bar. They have alcohol." This isn't a Michelin star restaurant. Their job is to help you temporarily forget your problems, not curate a bespoke flavor journey. 39. During a company team-building exercise, the facilitator asked everyone to share their spirit animal. One quiet accountant thought for a moment and said, "A moth. Because I am inexplicably drawn to bright things that will ultimately destroy me, like my student loan debt." 40. At a public library, one patron tried to whisper chat with another, asking, "Find any good books?" The other person held up a copy of The End of Everything, Astrophysically Speaking, and said, "Just looking for some light reading to take my mind off things." 41. There is no graceful exit from a conversation with someone who details their entire dream from the previous night. It's a verbal hostage situation. You just have to nod along to a story with no plot, no stakes, and an ending that makes absolutely no sense. 42. A man on a park bench saw a woman sketching and asked, "What you drawing?" She held up a stunningly realistic charcoal portrait of him, looking confused and slightly uncomfortable. The only thing more awkward than being drawn without permission is having to comment on it. 43. A tech support agent, after solving a complex router issue, asks the standard, "Is there anything else I can help you with?" The customer on the line hesitates, then asks, "Yeah, could you take a quick look at my Tinder profile? I'm just not getting any matches and could use a second opinion." 44. A disastrous attempt at flirting was witnessed at a grocery store. A guy saw a woman looking at avocados and said, "You know, they say you are what you eat." She picked one up, felt it, and replied, "So you're saying I'm expensive, take forever to be ready, and then go bad in one day?" 45. Nothing triggers more internal panic than seeing someone you vaguely know from across a room and having to calculate the exact moment to make eye contact. Too early, and you do the awkward half smile for 30 seconds. Too late, and you look like a jerk. It's a lose-lose situation. 46. A young man trying to impress his date at a museum stood before a blank white canvas and said, "This piece really speaks to the inherent emptiness of modern consumer culture." The museum curator walking by politely informed him, "Sir, we haven't hung the painting there yet." 47. A well-intentioned person asked a friend who just got a new puppy, "Isn't it just the best thing ever?" The friend, looking exhausted, replied, "He's a tiny, adorable vortex of chaos that eats my money and pees on my dreams. So, yes, the best." 48. The small talk at a job fair is a special kind of hell. One recruiter asked a candidate, "So, what makes you passionate about data entry?" The candidate's soul visibly left their body for a moment before they answered with a completely straight face. The sheer, unadulterated thrill of it all. 49. At a family reunion, an uncle clapped his nephew on the back and boomed, "Still single, eh? Don't worry, there are plenty of fish in the sea." The nephew replied, "Maybe so, Uncle Ron, but I think my fishing license has been permanently revoked." 50. The act of saying, "You too," after a service worker tells you to enjoy your meal or movie is a universal human glitch. It makes no sense, yet we are all compelled to do it. It's a small, shared moment of absolute brain failure. 51. There's a special circle of hell reserved for the moment you forget someone's name 2 seconds after they've said it. Your brain just serves up a 404 error, forcing you to navigate the rest of the conversation using only man, dude, or hey you. It's a social death spiral. 52. The phrase, working hard or hardly working, is not a question. It's a low-stakes psychological test administered by middle managers. There is no correct answer. Laugh and you're a slacker. Don't laugh and you have no sense of humor. It's a beautifully designed conversational trap. 53. Witness the pure, uncut agony of saying goodbye to someone and then realizing you're both walking in the same direction. The second, third, and even fourth goodbyes that follow are each more excruciating than the last. It's a journey of 1,000 steps, and everyone is awkward. 54. Complimenting someone's weight loss is the ultimate social gamble. You're betting their self-esteem against the possibility they're just suffering from a tragic illness, a recent breakup, or a severe tapeworm infestation. High risk, low reward. 55. Asking an artist, writer, or musician what their real job is. This isn't small talk. It's a drive-by shooting of their hopes and dreams, delivered with a polite smile. It's the verbal equivalent of patting them on the head and telling them their hobby is cute. 56. In a quiet office, a man sneezed. A distant co-worker shouted, "Bless you." The man replied, "Thank you." Then a third person from across the room chimed in with, "You're welcome." The entire office now had to process why a total stranger was accepting thanks on God's behalf. 57. The premature wave. You see someone you know from 100 yards away and commit to the wave, only to realize they haven't seen you. Now you're just a weirdo with your hand in the air, forced to pretend you were stretching or warding off invisible bees. 58. A woman on the subway was engrossed in a book when a man asked what she was reading. She held up the cover for him to see. How to subtly poison your enemies. The man did not attempt any further conversation for the remainder of the trip. 59. The act of merging two separate groups of friends at a party creates a vortex of social discomfort. You're forced to act as a frantic social ambassador, trying to translate inside jokes and prove to each group that your other friends aren't, in fact, complete weirdos. 60. So tell me about yourself. This isn't an invitation, it's a verbal pop quiz you haven't studied for. Your entire life story, all your passions and quirks, are supposed to be condensed into a charming 30-second soundbite. Most people just end up mumbling something about their job. 61. Some people can't just accept a simple comment about the weather. You say, "It's pretty humid today," and they launch into a full meteorological report on barometric pressure, dew points, and the cumulus cloud formations they observed on their drive in. It's not a conversation, it's a lecture. 62. Observing someone suddenly get a very important phone call in the middle of a boring conversation is a masterclass in passive rejection. They're not fooling anyone. They would rather talk to a robocaller about their car's extended warranty than listen to you for another second. 63. At a company potluck, an executive took a bite of a dish and asked the employee who brought it, "This is delicious. Is this your famous chili?" The employee replied, "No, sir, that's my 7-layer dip." The executive just kept chewing, his mistake hanging in the air. 64. The conversation that happens entirely in corporate buzzwords is a unique kind of nightmare. Let's touch base offline to synergize our deliverables and pivot our core competencies. Nobody knows what was said, but everyone nods as if it were the Gettysburg Address. 65. A man spent an entire 20-minute conversation calling a woman Brenda. Her name was Jennifer. She never corrected him, deciding it was easier to just temporarily inhabit the identity of Brenda than to derail the conversation with an awkward correction. We've all been Brenda. 66. The first 2 minutes of any video conference call are a digital wasteland of small talk. It's just a grid of faces staring blankly. Someone's audio isn't working, and everyone is commenting on a background detail in a desperate attempt to seem human before the meeting starts. 67. A person at a farmer's market asked a vendor if their produce was organic. The old farmer thought for a second and said, "Son, these carrots have seen things you wouldn't believe. but pesticides ain't one of them. That's one way to answer the question. 68. Asking a retail employee who is actively stocking shelves and wearing a bright blue vest with the store's logo on it, "Excuse me, do you work here?" This is less a question and more a test of that employee's will to live and not say what they're really thinking. 69. There is no polite way to tell someone they have something in their teeth. You're forced into a game of subtle facial gestures and coded language, trying to signal the problem without announcing to the whole room that they have a piece of spinach the size of a postage stamp on their incisor. 70. The checkout line comment on someone's groceries is a classic fail. "Ooh, having a party?" a woman asked a man buying a cart full of ice cream and potato chips. "No," he replied. "This is just how I'm dealing with my Tuesday." The silence was deafening. 71. The unsolicited command to smile more is a classic small talk catastrophe. It's not a friendly suggestion. It's a bizarre attempt to art direct a stranger's face, usually delivered by someone who has no idea why the person isn't smiling in the first place. 72. In a desperate attempt to sound intelligent at a dinner party, a guest, hearing the host mention Chardonnay, loudly declared, "Ah yes, from the Chardonnay region of France." The host just paused, wine bottle in hand, and gently explained that Chardonnay is, in fact, a grape. 73. The handshake versus fist bump dilemma is a modern tragedy. One person goes for the firm, professional shake, while the other offers a casual bump, resulting in a clumsy, claw-like mashing of knuckles and fingers. The subsequent apology dance is always more awkward than the initial mistake. 74. The "you look so familiar" gambit is a minefield. One man confidently approached a woman at a party, insisting he knew her from somewhere. After a solid minute of awkward guessing, she finally deadpanned, "Sir, I was the lead defense attorney on your embezzlement trial last year. You were found guilty." 75. There's a special kind of dread that comes with asking, "How are you?" and receiving a completely honest, unfiltered, minute-by-minute health report. You were prepared for a "fine, thanks." Instead, you're getting a detailed analysis of their joint pain and digestive issues. 76. Witnessing someone confidently mispronounce a common word like saying espresso instead of espresso puts you in an impossible position. Correct them, and you're a snob. Let it slide, and you're an accomplice to their linguistic crime. There is no winning. 77. Nothing kills a vibe faster than the guy who responds to "I'm so tired" with "You think you're tired?" He then launches into a competitive monologue about his lack of sleep, effectively turning your mild complaint into the oppression Olympics. 78. A woman at a pet store, looking at a tank of goldfish, was asked by an employee if she needed help. She sighed and said, "I'm just looking for a pet that will accurately reflect the brevity and meaninglessness of my own existence." The employee slowly backed away to go straighten some leashes. 79. The horror of accidentally hitting reply all on an email with a sarcastic comment meant for one person is a uniquely modern small talk fail. The subsequent apology email, sent to the same 50 people, is a digital monument to your own stupidity. 80. The conversational black hole that is the one-word answer. You ask, "Have any exciting plans for the summer?" They reply with a flat no and just stare at you, offering zero conversational lifelines. The silence that follows is your new home. 81. At a company picnic, the CEO tried to mingle, asking a quiet programmer, "So what's your story?" The programmer, who had been coding for 72 hours straight, just blinked and replied, "Error 404, story not found." The CEO just patted his shoulder and moved on. 82. Trying to bond with a new neighbor over lawn care is a minefield. One man complimented his neighbor's perfect green grass. The neighbor replied, "Thanks. The secret is an obsessive-compulsive disorder and a deep-seated fear of disappointing my late father." 83. The moment someone discovers you've never seen their favorite classic movie is a dangerous one. Their friendly surprise quickly turns into aggressive evangelism. You didn't just miss a film. You revealed a fundamental flaw in your character. 84. A classic fail is asking someone in a band, "So, do you guys play, like, your own music or just covers?" It's a question that beautifully combines condescension with a complete lack of understanding of what being in a band actually entails. 85. At the DMV, a woman tried to break the oppressive silence by asking the man next to her, "Crazy long wait, huh?" He turned to her, his eyes wide with existential dread, and whispered, "This is nothing. All of life is just waiting in different lines for it to be over." 86. The "you look just like" comment is rarely a compliment. It's usually followed by the name of some obscure, mildly unattractive character actor, leaving the person to force a smile while frantically Googling who they've just been compared to. 87. During a quiet moment on a first date, one person tried to be deep, asking, "What's your biggest fear?" The other person, without hesitation, said, "Accidentally liking an old photo while stalking someone's Instagram profile." It was brutally honest, and also the end of the date. 88. A guest at a house party trying to be helpful asked the host, "Hey, can I use your bathroom?" The host replied, "I don't know, can you?" The guest just stood there, paralyzed by a flashback to third-grade grammar lessons, as the host laughed maniacally. 89. Telling someone, "You look exhausted," is not a sign of concern. It's a verbal paper cut. It's a statement that forces the recipient to see themselves not as a person, but as a walking wreck, while the speaker conducts a complimentary forensic analysis of the bags under their eyes. 90. The self-checkout machine says, "Please place item in the bagging area." A flustered man who had already done so just stared at the machine and defensively muttered, "It's in there." He was now in a one-sided argument with a robot, and he was losing. 91. The retail dance of denial is a classic. A sales associate asks, "Can I help you find anything?" You confidently reply, "No thanks, just looking." This is an ancient, sacred lie. The moment they walk away, you realize you are hopelessly lost and now must find them again in an act of profound social surrender. 92. There is an unwritten law that every 10th person in a checkout line is legally obligated to make the same joke. "Oh, it didn't scan? I guess it must be free." This is always met with the soul-crushing 1,000-yard stare of a cashier who has died a little inside for the millionth time. 93. The door hold miscalculation. You hold the door for someone who is just a little too far away, forcing them into the shame jog, that awkward, hurried shuffle of a person who feels socially indebted to your premature act of kindness. You both feel terrible about it. 94. Arriving on time to a party is a grave mistake. You are punished for your punctuality by being forced into a one-on-one conversation with the frantic, multitasking host. You are not a guest. You are the first hostage in a developing social situation. 95. The Midwest, goodbye isn't a single action. It's a multi-act play. It starts in the living room, moves to the front door for another 10 minutes, proceeds to the driveway for a final chat, and concludes with a last wave as the car pulls away. It's an endurance sport of small talk. 96. Complaining about the weather is standard, but the person who acts personally victimized by it is a special kind of fail. They don't just say, "It's raining." They describe it as if the rain was a targeted attack by the cosmos specifically designed to ruin their day and their day only. 97. Inquiring about a new parent's baby is a minefield. One person asked, "So, are you getting any sleep?" The parent, with the hollowed-out eyes of a ghost, just laughed. It wasn't a happy laugh. It was the sound of a human soul breaking into a million tiny, sleep-deprived pieces. 98. The vacation photo interrogation. Your coworker asks if you want to see a few pictures from their trip. Suddenly, their phone is in your face, and you're trapped in a 200-photo slideshow, forced to say, "Oh wow," at endless pictures of sunsets and every single meal they ate. 99. There is no social predator more feared than the unsolicited life coach. They overhear your minor complaint about traffic and immediately diagnose your entire life, offering a 5-step plan to realign your core energy and manifest a clearer commute. You just wanted to vent. 100. A junior executive trying to sound impressive in a meeting declared that the company's new data was irrefutable. The only problem was, he pronounced it irrefutable. The entire room collectively agreed to pretend they didn't notice, creating a shared bond of silent, cringing pity. 101. And finally, the undisputed champion of workplace cliches. Sounds like someone's got a case of the Mondays. This isn't a joke. It's a cry for help. It's a phrase so void of creativity that it has the power to lower the entire room's collective IQ by several points. So, there's the evidence. 101 reasons why silence can be a gift. But this list is incomplete. We're officially looking for number 102, and we know you're hiding it. What's the one catastrophic small talk fail you've witnessed or, even better, personally caused that still keeps you up at night? The comments are now the official Hall of Shame. We want the story that makes everyone else reading it physically cringe. If you made it through without dying of secondhand embarrassment, hit like. And if this felt less like a list and more like your personal biography, you should probably subscribe. It's for your own good.